or call 702-766-9538. Again, 702-766-9538.
As a 3-time international award-winning restaurant, Joe's New York Pizza uses only the freshest and best available ingredients. From giant slices of hand-tossed pie to calzones, strombolis, fingers, and wings, Joe's serves all your favorites. Stop in for a slice at one of their 2 Las Vegas locations at Paradise and Harmon or South Las Vegas Boulevard, or you can check out their menu at joesnewyorkpizzalv.com.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
Paid for by Steel Man Pills. 800-431-9102. 800-431-9102. 800-431-9102. That's 800-431-9102.
Live from Las Vegas, this is the Wayne Coy Show.
Man, feels good to be up 2-0, 2-0 in the Stanley Cup. I can't believe I'm saying that. Stanley Cup Finals. Hockey fever has gripped Las Vegas, and rightfully so. We got a pretty good team here. And there's a guy who's called it every step of the way, who we obviously check in with from time to time. And we kick off the show tonight with Mr. Hockey, Chris Collins. Hello, sir. How are you? Well,
good. How about you? Coming in clear tonight, or am I? I'm not on a repeater or anything like that.
Well, there's like an echo there, and I'm not sure what's causing it. But is there? You know what I'm wondering about?
Oh, all right, I'll turn it down. How about now?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Go ahead. After that big buildup, Mr. Hockey, are you there?
Yeah, 1, 2.
Okay. Yeah, there's an echo, and I'm not sure what.
Yes, I'm here.
Let's see if we can
I'll turn the audio off here. I can't hear you, can I?
Okay, try that.
That's not gonna work.
Hello.
Oh.
It's a Chris Collins thing, man.
That's a little bit. Maybe Martians are checking it.
I think it's where you live. I think you live in a place that doesn't like to do the streaming thing.
It could be.
You know, the one time that you were at your house, it was smooth as silk from your house, and we didn't have any issues. But for whatever reason, when we get you in that car of yours, man, it's just it's touch and go, and it's more go than touch tonight. So what we're gonna do?
All right. Do you want me to go in?
Let's take a very quick break, and then we'll come
go
back.
Into the house.
You're not gonna be able to see his smiling face. Look at that guy. Look how handsome he is. It's not going to play as well over the phone, but you'll just have to have you'll have to have a really good imagination. We got to catch up with Chris, though, and we're going to do that. We will talk to him next on the Wayne Coy Show. Don't you dare go away. Hey there, it's Wayne Coy. If you're a real estate investor or you're looking to buy an investment property, well, you need to contact Michael Goyeneche at Option Funding. Their well-trained staff can assist you through the financing process and get you the funds that you need. They've got the programs to suit all investors. Now, that includes standard commercial financing, no-income DSCR loans, and hard money, too. You can refinance any existing properties for cash out. Or if you're looking to purchase an investment property, they can get it done for you as well. With rental income on the rise, this is a good time to invest in a rental property. And there are investment opportunities with positive cash flows right here in Nevada and other surrounding states, too. They handle single-family residences, 4 units, apartment complexes, and of course, commercial buildings. So give Michael a call at 818-821-7811. That's 818-821-7811. Or email MikeGLoans@gmail.com. NMLS 163400. DRE 01342072. NMLS 1444037. DRE 01921141.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-557-8036. 800-557-8036. 800-557-8036. That's 800-557-8036.
The National Atomic Testing Museum is a national science, history, and educational institution that tells the story of America's nuclear weapons testing program at the Nevada test site. Located at 755 East Flamingo Road, just east of Paradise, the museum offers immersive, interactive experts for guests of all ages. The museum is Smithsonian certified and open 7 days a week. For more information, visit nationalatomictestingmuseum.org. That's nationalatomictestingmuseum.org.
When you bring your vehicle to Star Auto Care for maintenance, you'll have a team of professionals at your service. Every one of our technicians has been factory trained and master status certified to ensure that you receive the highest quality and most effective service. Star Auto Care is located at 3540 East Tropicana Avenue, just east of Pecos. Star Auto Care is confident in their prices and will match any mechanic located within 20 miles. Bring your vehicle in today and let Star Auto Care give you the peace of mind you deserve when you service your car. Visit them online at starautocare.us.
Now back to the Wayne Coy Show.
All right, let's see if he's there. I hope so.
I'm
Mr.
here.
Hockey. Oh, listen to you. Nice.
Is that better?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. Let's get you on the screen, though, so everybody can see you. Yeah, it's Chris Collins who's checking in from, I don't know where you are. Are you Roseville? Are you Sacramento?
No, Fair Oaks.
Well, that explains everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? It's the fault of the squirrels here, or something running around, or the coyotes, or all the other vermin that we have running around here. So
yeah. Hey, you did a good job of getting out of the car and then getting into the house as quick as you did.
You like that move, huh?
Yeah.
Quick, and the door was locked on me. It was pretty amazing how I picked it and got in here.
Is everybody in the house a little upset now because you're back in and you're on the air and now they all have to be quiet?
I have one 15-year-old. See how that is. They never come out of their rooms. All you hear is screaming and swearing in the room. True. You have to tell them to stop swearing.
Right. I thought you were saying that was you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, that's me when the Raiders play. Yeah. Right. Yeah. The neighbors can always tell, they said, when all the screaming and yelling goes on.
Right. Well, you sound great, man. So let's just treat that as the treat that it is. Thanks to technology, we got you back on. Everybody can see you and hear you. How do we not expect now the Golden Knights to just roll and maybe 4-game sweep here?
Well, because seven games and 2,500 miles in between sometimes plays tricks on your mind. Plus, the desire to win. I mean, you've only got 7 games to win, and first of 4 wins. So it's strange what happens, with people. They get motivated. We've seen that. Look at how Vegas is. I mean, it was ridiculous. I'm speechless, honestly, how good they played. Both game 1, everybody's a little bit slow. Florida got off to a quick start. I mean, clearly Vegas wanted to get into their mode. They're a team that's confident with their system that they can play in any game, which is the sign of a great team. They're bigger, they're faster. And as I told you, Bruce Cassidy's system is a phenomenal system. It made the Boston Bruins one of the top, 4 perennial teams in the league. So I wasn't surprised in game 1 they came back, but I mean, there were some just back-breaking goals in that game. And then game 2, it was ridiculous. It was like a different game. Second period started and it was over. I mean, they just absolutely disassembled Florida. And
There was no coming back from that at all. That was over.
No. What, remember, I told you this a while ago. What we try to tell guys, you don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs, okay? But if you're down in the playoffs and you go into the third period, you're in the dressing room in the second intermission, and it's 5-1 or 4-0 or something like that, you got to tell guys, look, the game is measured in blocks of 5 minutes, okay? So go play hard 5 minutes, we get one, now all of a sudden it's 4-2. Then go play hard another 5, all of a sudden you get one, it's now 4-3. Okay, that means the final 10 minutes, you got a chance to tie this up. Okay, we'll lock it down then. If we don't, we need very well the final 20 minutes. That's what we have to do so that when we go home, we're ready to play. We're not going to get off the slow starts or allow them to come out and railroad on everybody. So,
well, what does Florida do now to be able to sort of regroup and get back to playing the way they want to play?
They're coached very well. Paul Maurice is not going to he's not going to double over and cry. They were down 3-1 to Boston, and they came back and won the series, and they won it in really gut-wrenching ways, where they just told Boston, no matter how big your lead is, we're going to find a way to win. So if the series gets, it goes 2-1 after tomorrow night in Florida, then, game 4 is going to be, that's going to be the game. Okay. Now, in fairness to Vegas, all playoffs long, when they've been up against the wall, they don't freak out. They go back to their system.
Very calm in the storm. Yes, they are.
Well, and I've never seen Vegas play like that. Now, it's not their fault. As a rookie expansion team, they made the Cup Finals and won the first game. And I think a lot of people thought that Gerard Gallant, who's a great guy who I love, and I think he's a good coach, I think he was probably outcoached in that series. And that's not his fault. It's just what happens, okay? You can be the better coach and get outcoached. But this is a little bit different. And we'll see. Mo's not going to get nervous behind that bench. His players look like, we're just going to keep working and see what happens. Now, be that as it may, Vegas looks very, very strong. Aiden Hill looked very, very good on Tuesday night. I thought he played well for 2 or 3 periods in game 1.
That's all you need.
Yeah, as long as again, this isn't Patrick Waugh, this isn't Grant Fuhr, this isn't one netminder standing on his head making 57 saves, including 9 breakaways. It isn't like Fleury when he was in Vegas. Fleury was ridiculous, okay? Butt into the goalie stick, whatever he could do to make a save, he did. This team knows how to, leave some real estate, let the netminder see the puck. He's good enough to make those pad saves, go down and butterfly and skate save on a breakaway. You're seeing more consistency there. So if he does more of the same tomorrow, Florida's they're in a tough way. If they get down 3-0, it's not a good situation for them. And it's great.
How much of a difference maker is it to have a guy like Carlson on your team? Is that
my son played with him, right? And my son was 14 and played what they call 18 AAA elite in Sweden, in Marsta, Sweden. And Carlson played on that team. He was 16 and he played on the 18 elite team. And my son loved him. And he was raving about him before I left China after a hockey game. I went to Stockholm and I watched this kid play. And I'm like, oh my God, he's a straight ahead NHL player. Even at 16, his skating. And you saw it in game 2 where he broke in coming off the wing. He was even with 2 Florida players, and then as they closed in, he blew in front of them, and then the puck behind him, one-timer, bang, into the net. This is Carlson, and I've said this from the day I saw him at 16. I told every scout I knew, this guy Carlson is a can't miss. Well, he comes into the league with who? Nashville? What were they doing with this guy? How could they not know that William Carlson wasn't a player? Look at his skating. If you can skate in this league, you can be in this league. They can figure out something to do with you. But his skating is upper 1/10 percentile. And I say this again, he scores big goals, big plays. And I think Cassidy has used him right this year, because I find it hard to believe that Carlson was in the doghouse the whole year. It's not his personality. He just works and works and works. And he's the kind of guy you can say, hey, listen, Slick, you have a critical role. I need you to think defense first. I need you to think our zone, neutral zone, then offensive zone. And when the playoffs come, you're going to see all the opportunities because you're the fastest guy on the ice and you understand D, neutral, offensive zone. And that's what we've seen all playoff long from Carlson. Same with
secret sauce, man. That's what I said the other day. I said he's like the secret sauce.
Yeah, he's a very, very good player. He has been. Vegas, I mean, that expansion draft is just, Kelly McCrimmon, look, here's the deal. I explained this before. I don't want to get confused on this. Kelly McCrimmon and Pete Carroll of the Seattle Seahawks have a lot in common. When they went to their respective major leagues again, Kelly came in as the de facto assistant GM, but, George and he worked very, very close together. Kelly knew all of the young players. He knew all of those kids that were going to be left unprotected. Pete Carroll, same thing in Seattle. And
there's a Pete Carroll analogy right there. Yeah.
Yes. And this is what pro sports misses, especially the NHL. They like to recycle coaches. And what they do is they recycle guys that have been at the NHL level. And then they say, well, our scouts should know all about this. Well, guess what? Most of your scouts are out drinking wine, eating steak, and showing up at a game and BSing with other scouts. Okay.
But enough about Chris Collins' career. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm the flamethrower. Okay. So
you were the serious scout. You went to bed early and got up early. Yes.
I never went to bed. No. I had to work while I was being a scout.
Were you? But you weren't the guy out in the bars and hanging out and all of that. No. That's what I'm saying. You had a work ethic. Yeah.
I don't party. It's not my thing. Okay. Yeah. So my wife's beautiful, and she was a challenge enough to chase her down and convince her that, besides being insane, that, I could provide. And I've gotten both of them wrong. So that's good.
You got to give a guy credit for trying, right? That's all I'm saying. So you think obviously game 3 is important. How could it not be? Because they lose that, they're down 3-0 and it's over. I mean, it's real hard to come back.
You're speaking like a fan, and that's good. That's what you need to do. You need to be that person, and I am impressed with that, because that's the way you have to look at the game. The way they're going to look at the game, they're in a routine right now. They probably left this morning. They wouldn't have gone 2 days early because they know everybody's going to be sitting on the beach. When they tell them don't go to the beach, guys are going to go to the beach anyway because you can get lost in South Beach. Trust me.
Yeah,
I've done it 15 times. So they're going to be there. They flew in early this morning, you lose 3 hours. They're there at 6 o'clock. Go get a meal, come back, go to sleep. My dogs are going to bark here for a minute, so I apologize. But
okay.
They'll do, I would imagine, no longer than a 20 to 22 minute skate in the morning, and it'll be real brisk, bang, bang on the whistle, and he'll get them off the ice, okay? And it'll be as routine as you would imagine routine. And then the message doesn't have to be real serious. Like, guys, look there's nothing else we can tell you this year. You've seen the video of what their weaknesses are, and I can tell you what they are with Florida. They're not as fast, they're not as big, and they're being destroyed. Their defense is being destroyed on the breakout, and then being able to get back into a defensive stance on what we would call a regroup. They've been awful, their defense, and you've seen it. Every regroup, Vegas, the defenseman, first pass, bang, it's a 2-on-1, it's a 3-on-2, it's a 4-on-3 break, and then the speed breaks it into potentially a 4-on-2 almost every time up the ice.
Are the Panthers maybe a bit too aggressive? Is that what this is? Or they're trying to overplay?
No. When you get into a championship, you try to will your style. Okay, you don't want to go against your style because it never works. If you come in and say, well, we're going to go against our style, we're going to do this and shock them, you may be able to get away with that for a few minutes in each game just to think you're going to confuse them. Coaches have 18 assistants on the side. They've watched all the video, believe me, of anything and everything, including the Zamboni driver. Okay, so we know what's going on.
You've seen it.
You've got to make your system work. You've got to will it to work. And at this point, and I think I have a lot of people on my side. I mean, it's in the key elements. And I've said it all year long, the West is way better than the Eastern Conference. All they said the last 2 years, the Eastern Conference is tough, the West isn't. Guess what? The two best teams in the league are Vegas and Dallas. And there's not even a question. If Dallas had been in this final, they would have done the same kind of thing. Big, strong players pounding and using speed to get around them. I don't have to name names because Vegas just went through it, fighting with them. And, it's just the way it works, man. So now Is Florida out of it? No, not at all. They can come win 2 at home, and now we go to a game 5 in Vegas. It's going to be lunatic fringe.
Right. Well, the pressure is on them, though. I think, you know, if the Golden Knights can just play their game and not get too cocky, then it really is on Florida. I feel like they have to win game 3.
Well, they do. I mean, obviously, that's a good obvious observation.
Right.
Hey, we want to get down 3-0 so we can just sort of play games with them on the way back. What I'm saying is they can't push on them and put the pressure on them beforehand. The players know inside. They have to stay in their routine. They have to know that now, with 2 games down, there's only 5 games left in their 22-23 season.
Yeah.
They're last possible series of the season. If they want to win, they've got to win 4 games. Okay. They got to win 4 remaining. Okay. I mean, can they do it out of the 5 remaining? We'll see. We're going to know tomorrow. We're going to see how
4 out of 5. Oof, it's not a good. I know they really wanted the split, and honestly, it's like I felt like they didn't even show up for game 2.
No. They had the first period. They were very good in game 1. Okay. They got the first goal, which was sort of it was a garbage goal. I don't care what anybody says. Okay.
Yes.
But Vegas didn't let it shake them, but still Florida was getting off. But you could see that this wasn't going to last because we were seeing Vegas sort of getting their legs going. And they weren't freaking out. He was rolling 4 lines. And don't forget that. Remember, I told you before, in hockey, Bruce Cassidy can roll 4 big, fast lines. And the 4th line for Vegas has been dominant in the last 3 playoff series. Dominance. Okay? I mean dominance. You ask any hockey scout guy, what do you think of the 4th line of Vegas in this playoff entire series? They're going to tell you they've been the best players throughout the series. They've been dominant and punished. Just brutal physical play. And that, man, let me tell you, when you're on the ice and whether you're a coach, you're behind the bench, or you're a player, and you're watching guys get crunched, okay? And think about Kachuk, his buddy is Jack Eichel, right? And he nails him, which would have been a good hit had Eichel not tripped and toe-picked into the ice. He was trying to jump out of the way, right? So, I mean, it was a good hit. Think about when Eichel came out and starts the 3rd period. Then he leads them on a break up and walks around a guy, makes his perfect pass, and they score. I mean, guess what? The air on the bench, goodbye. I mean, the players aren't stupid. They know what that means. So,
see, I didn't know a lot about Eichel, but I've certainly been watching what he's been doing in the postseason, and he's quite a player.
He's playing Bruce Cassidy's system perfectly, okay? In Buffalo, he tried to do too much. They wanted him to be Connor McDavid of Buffalo. Take the puck every time, go end-to-end, dazzle people, toe drag, score spectacular goals. Eichel is a potential star player in Bruce's system, and you're seeing it now. Where's his first responsibility? In his own end. He breaks up passes. He has sticks in the lane. He takes those pucks. He doesn't go crazy with it. He stops. He looks. He's taking that breath, and only star players can do it, and makes that first pass, gets back into the rush. I mean, it's a subtlety, but his game has been fantastic.
And he's in the middle of everything, Chris. I mean, anything that they're doing that's right, he's there.
I mean, Vegas rolled the dice. His neck was unfused, for God's sakes. They took him in and said, we trust you. They got the surgery. They let him rehab. The team missed the playoffs because they had so many guys out injury-wise. And then they get him together, and look at him now. They put a coach in there that they knew. And see, they're not going to get credit for this, okay? But they knew, Vegas's management, they needed a coach that could teach, because it's a phenomenal story. From 5 years back, the young players that they've traded away that are captains elsewhere, 22, 23 years old, what they've gotten back, okay, good veteran, you've helped us, goodbye, you're out of here. Now our young guy's ready. Let me tell you something, man. In a salary cap world with 32 franchises, this is not easy to do.
Right.
And Kelly, and George is highly, highly intelligent. Okay, George and Dean Lombardi, when he was with the Sharks and the Kings, these are 2 of the smartest people in hockey. Okay, both Americans, really smart. Kelly McCrimmon may have been one of the best WHL GM of all time. And you're seeing these 2 guys together. I absolutely love the story. I hope Vegas has a 2-week celebration. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this town is ready to party. That's for sure.
It's great. It's great. They're
Yeah.
not going to party with the Raiders this year. It breaks my heart. So
Right, and we're gonna know here very soon, I think, about the baseball situation as well. In fact, when we wrap up here in just a minute, we're going to go live to Carson City, where the legislators are right now as we speak, debating this whole thing. So we'll see if the stadium's going to get built or not.
I thought they did it yesterday, and they closed without it.
No, that was a regular session. Then they had a special session to deal with a budget item yesterday, and now this whole thing, the whole dog and pony show, started up again today. Pretty late, actually, about 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. They started getting going.
Well, the rumor is he's out of cash flow. He's been using the welfare program of MLB. I have a ton of that work for the A's, as you have, but right up to the top. I did work for Billy and Rick Peterson. I knew the old group. They were great guys, both guys, Santa Clara guys. You know, they laid it on the line, but they spent a little bit of money they never would have given away. This guy just said, I give up. I'm out of the welfare program. I don't get my $60 million. Now I'm just going to let the team be the double A's instead of the Major League Baseball A's.
Right.
And I love the A's, and I don't care if they're in Vegas. They should be in Oakland, but Nevada shouldn't give them one penny. They should tell them to go pound salt. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, and we'll play some of these clips maybe a little bit later on in the next hour, but it got a little contentious earlier today, and these legislators who I thought, maybe this is just all a formality and they're going to just zip it through based on the questions. I don't think so. I think they were basically holding their feet to the fire. And what one guy brought up, which is, I think, a very accurate thing to bring to the table, is you had all this time. You knew what we didn't like about your first dog and pony show. Why are you presenting the same exact bill with nothing changed and expecting us to have a different reaction than we had before, which was we weren't going to even bring it up for a vote? Well, now the governor's forced this special session, and these people want to be gone. They've been there for 120 days, longer now, and they just want to get this over with. But they're doing their job tonight, and we're going to peek in and hear how it's going. But so we got that going on, and we got hockey going on, and right in the middle of it, Chris Collins. Thank you, man.
Hey, thanks, man. Devontae Adams looked good at the game.
He did, didn't he? Yes, he did. And he was high-fiving everybody around him. And
yeah, they were all there. All the guys were up. They didn't sit near him. I was reading some guy's post on Twitter. It was great. They all love hockey, right? I mean, all football guys do. And you know what? I hope I'm wrong about the Raiders. I'd love to see them win 10 games. My 40 Weiner friends would never hear the end of it.
You and me both. All right. So we got this game tomorrow night, so maybe we'll catch up with you on Friday then.
Yeah, be great. Yeah.
That work?
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So Vegas. So I said Vegas in 6. I got Vegas in 5 now at the very least.
Whoa! You heard it here. Okay.
Yeah, game. Yeah.
The prognosticator.
Yeah.
The guy. Yes, he's like Nostradamus. Instead of dumbass, that's me. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chris.
All right,
and we'll talk to you on Friday. There he goes, Mr. Hockey. Nobody does it better. We're so lucky to have a guy with his background that can visit us from, throughout this entire postseason and just sort of keep us up to date on how everything's going. He knows the sport. And unlike me, you got to be impressed, though. I've come a long way since our first visit with Chris. Remember, I was like, okay, this is a puck, right? No, we've learned a lot from hanging around with him, and we'll continue to. And I hope you continue to stay where you are. Keep listening, because when we get back, it's Carson City, baby, and maybe, just maybe, a stadium in Las Vegas for the Oakland A's. We'll find out in just a few minutes.
The Wayne Coy Show.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
Paid for by Steel Man Pills. 800-431-9102. 800-431-9102. 800-431-9102. That's 800-431-9102.
Hey, listen to this. Share Life Vacations has a special treat for you. It's a free 3-day, 2-night getaway to either magical Orlando or exciting Las Vegas. It's your choice. Absolutely no strings attached. Share Life will also include a second vacation to your choice of over 30 additional popular resort destinations. Now, we can't give everyone a fantastic prize package like this, so to make it fair, we're going to ask you a trivia question. You get it right, you'll win it all. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. This movie is about a British Secret Service agent who is frozen in time in the 1960s. Was that movie Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery? Press 1. Diamonds Are Forever? Press 2. Lethal Weapon? Press 3. Got it? Well, then call 855-301-8586. 855-301-8586. That's 855-301-8586.
Hi, I'm Sheldon, the owner of Solid Motor Cars. I've spent over 30 years in the retail car business. It is all about the vehicles, but more than that, it's about the people. And my team and I are proud to bring to you what we believe is the finest experience in buying a pre-owned car. With great credit, we can get super low interest rates. But if you've had some challenges, we're experts in that field, and we can get almost anybody approved. Come down to Solid Motor Cars and take a look at our vehicles. They come with a 6-month, 6,000-mile warranty. So when you get a vehicle from Solid Motor Cars, you can feel confident that that vehicle is a quality, properly reconditioned vehicle that will serve you and your family for years to come. So for all your automotive needs, whether it's a new car, truck, or SUV, or if it's repairs, service, and maintenance, Solid Wheels, solid deals, solid people. Coming down to meet the crew. My name's Sheldon. I'm the owner here. I'd love to help you any way that I can.
3024 East Fremont Street, 702-820-1444.
Whether you're a corporate executive, on a family vacation, or just passing through, St. George Inn & Suites will meet your specific needs. It's conveniently located near restaurants, shopping, and movie theaters. St. George Inn & Suites offers a variety of room types, 2 fabulous pools and jacuzzis, a fitness center, a free full hot buffet breakfast, and laundry facilities. To make your booking, call 435-673-6661 or book online at stgeorgeinnhotel.com. You need to stop in Southern Utah? Make that stop at St. George Inn & Suites.
Live from Las Vegas, this is the Wayne Coy Show.
Yeah, a little up, a little down, but mostly down, I think, in terms of the argument that's being made by the proponents of the new baseball stadium in Las Vegas. It's now SB1. It was SB 509. They've changed because they're in special session. It's basically a do-over for the people that were there the first time around. And I will say this, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe the legislators are just so over it all, they would just kind of hang back and not say much. But that has not been the case. In fact, from time to time, it's been a little, what's the word? Contentious? Contentious.
Sure. I just wanted to start off by thanking Mr. Aguero for answering my questions and providing any supplemental information. I have a couple of questions about the underlying assumption here that we're going to average approximately 27,000 visitors per event. Is that right? Is it 27,000?
Senator Harris, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, it's roughly that amount.
Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of math here. So, pull out your calculator or trust my numbers either way. For those who want to follow along, grab your phone, pull out your calculator. So let's assume that in year 1, the A's are somehow able to double their average attendance to 18,000 for 81 games. That would be 1,458,000 in attendance. In order to meet your projections, we'd have to take the 2.6 million, subtract 1.458. That leaves you with 1,142,000 to be made up by the remaining 14 ticketed events. In order to do that, we take 1,142,000 divided by 14. That would be 81,572 people in attendance for the remaining 14 events. That's more than double the capacity of this proposed stadium. So let me be a bit more generous. Let's assume the average attendance is tripled. That would be 2,187,000 people in attendance. So we take 2.6 million, subtract 2,187,000. That would only leave now 413,000 to be made up by the remaining 14 ticketed events. 413,000 divided by 14 is 29,500 people in attendance. So that would be a required sellout for the remaining 14 events. Is it reasonable to assume that the A's will triple its attendance in years 1, 2, or even 3?
Senator Harris, for the record, Jeremy Aguero. I take no issue with the underlying mathematics. If the question is whether the A's build a stadium in Las Vegas and are able to generate attendance in the 50th percentile of all Major League Baseball teams anywhere in the United States, yeah, I think that's reasonable. Those numbers are supported by CSL, the foremost expert in the United States relative to that. They've been reviewed by PFM on behalf of the county, who determined that they were reasonable. So I take no issue with the challenges that exist for Oakland in Oakland today. I think my sense is from all the analysis, that's exactly why they're looking for someone somewhere else to go. That even if they field a tremendous team, getting the support that's necessary just doesn't exist at that point in time. And so by building a new asset, if we look at other facilities that have been constructed, it becomes a draw. You look at what Las Vegas has been able to do in terms of its draw, it's been pretty remarkable overall. And again, you're going to tell me something that I'm sure, because of the conversations that we had before, is that there's no guarantee that they're able to do that. And if we look at recent history, obviously it's challenging. There's no doubt about that. But I think that's the big reason that we're here today.
Yeah, Mr. Aguero, I mean, I'm willing to assume that at one day, it may be we reach 27,000 visitors. My question is, do we have enough time to reach it in order to make up the average of 27,000 visitors, right? Because if we lag in years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we only have an extra 2,500 seats to be able to make up in perpetuity, right? I mean, depending on how quickly we get there, we never may be able to average 27,500 unless we start in years 1 and 2 pretty close to that number.
Senator Harris, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, you're right. You're 100% right. The other part of it is those first years are probably going to be the years that it's easiest to fill that stadium. It's going to be the shiny new project on the Las Vegas Strip. The ability to sell that place out over those first 3 years, yeah, I like our chances relative to that.
Okay. I'll just throw out one more scenario, and then I have a question about traffic, Chair, if that's okay. So even if we assume that attendance is on average doubled over the first 3 years, that's 18,000 average for 3 years, so 54,000 people. 27,000 times 3 is 81,000. So 81,000 minus 54,000 means we'd have to make up 27,000 more visitors. 27,000 visitors over 3 years is another 9,000 people over the next 3 years. So you'd have to then do 27,000 in the 3 years after that, plus 9,000, 36,000 people, which is beyond the capacity, in order to have an average in the first 6 years.
Senator Harris, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, again, you're starting the math that you're presenting with the estimate that they would be operating in the bottom quartile of Major League Baseball teams. If that's the premise, you're absolutely correct. The analysis that's being done suggests that they will go from where they are today, which for the record is dead last, right, to something that's in the 50th percentile by building an asset, by coming to a different location and giving the team a fighting chance at success.
And I think that's fair, but I also think it's fair for me and fairly generous for me to be assuming that they're going to double their attendance in the first 3 years. But that's I guess a difference in assumptions, but I felt that that was a fairly generous assumption. And even with that, we've got quite a bit of work to do. Okay. As far as traffic, I know that a lot of folks have been concerned, and my colleague from District 10 mentioned that a bit as well. In this report that I have here prepared by, it looks like, Kimley Horn. There are several recommended infrastructure improvements, including realigning Reno Avenue curved intersection as a major four-way signaled intersection, widening Reno Avenue to provide eastbound and northbound dual left turn lanes, widening Reno Avenue to provide westbound and southbound dual left turn lanes, modifying the median along Las Vegas Boulevard to lengthen southbound to eastbound dual left turn lanes at Reno, installing northbound right turn lanes and a new project access driveway along Las Vegas Boulevard, and approximately 5 or 6 other things that are being suggested to be done to handle the traffic. Has the A's committed to engaging in any of these infrastructure projects?
Senator Harris, Steve Hill. This relates to the high impact project process that the county goes through. That has to be completed to the county's satisfaction prior to this project moving forward. So that conversation will happen during that period of time.
Okay, I'll try one more time. So has the A's committed to doing what is necessary when it comes to infrastructure, maybe even the recommendations based upon the study that they commissioned, in order to ensure that the traffic is taken care of ahead of this stadium opening?
Senator Harrison, Dave, I'm wrong here, but they have committed to do what it takes to meet that high impact project plan that will be put in place by the county. The County Public Works needs to weigh in on Kimley Horn's study in that conversation, but they have committed to do what they need to do.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Wow. Okay, so as I said, contentious is the word. I don't think there was a whole lot of pleasure derived from the answers that were given to those questions. Okay, remember the criticism the last time around was, well, the A's have these same two people, Jeremy Aguero, who is a consultant, and Mr. Hill, who is, of course, the CEO, main guy over at the Las Vegas Visitors and Convention Bureau. All right, those two guys. Last time around, when those two pretty much took up all the time for the A's presentation, the criticism was, where is John Fisher, the owner of the A's, who's asking Nevada to give him $400 million? Why is he not part of this proceeding? And if not Mr. Fisher, well, then how about the president of the A's, who's basically been their mouthpiece for a long time? And that would be Dave Kaval. What about Dave Kaval? Well, Kaval, maybe the root word in cavalry, because they certainly had to call the cavalry in, or the Kaval in. And you'll hear a little bit of give and take, which was, I think, more take than give. Again, I'm very surprised by the how heated this thing has been from time to time today. But here you go. First of all, Representative Flores, who's, again, trying to hold their feet to the fire with Mr. Kaval
of the Oakland A's. Thank you for being here.
Senator, yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you so much. Dave Kaval, president of the A's. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. If you could restate the question, it'd be great.
Sure. So this is my final question. It's directly to you. So on page 39 of your presentation, you listed the tax revenue sources, and there's several tax revenue sources that will be included in the Sports and Entertainment and Improvement District. In one of them, you've listed the live entertainment tax, and that's something that is going to be captured. And so this question is directly to you as the leadership of the Oakland Athletics and your future presence. In the legislation before us, I find it a coincidence that there are funding considerations that will take certain tax percentages away from our county, and that's a problem. Having said that, I believe there's an equity issue that exists in our state, and I want to make sure that I get this from you directly. Given the gaps that we have seen in conversations we've had throughout this session, it is clear that not everyone pays for the live entertainment tax. For example, in my district, which is also where the stadium is going to be located, we have venues like Sand Dollar. It's a local bar that features live bands, and they pay the live entertainment tax. But considerations like yours, athletic stadiums or events, would not have to pay for it. So I want to get this just off on the record directly to you. Would you agree that it is important to maintain equity across all businesses and that you will commit to willingly pay for the live entertainment tax for baseball games and athletic events featured at this facility in the near future?
Well, I appreciate the question. Obviously, we're bringing the baseball team to Southern Nevada, over $1 billion in private capital. We're looking for a partnership, and we want to make sure that we're going to continue to invest in a variety of ways to improve the situation for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, in a variety of fashions beyond the live entertainment tax. So I think by bringing additional tourists and other ways that generate tax dollars for the community, we think our project can actually be a net positive for the community, plus the quality of life that comes with a baseball team.
Thank you so much for that. But that didn't answer my question. So again, it's a yes or no. Will you willingly commit to pay the live entertainment tax in the near future to fix the equity issue that exists?
Like I said, we are committed to being a great community partner in Southern Nevada and investing, over $1 billion to ensure
that still does not answer the question, sir. I'm asking you directly, yes or no. Will you commit to paying the equity issue that we see existence for the live entertainment tax?
The legislation as it's currently envisioned, does not contemplate that. The project is based on, what is currently proposed. And so we've been focusing on that as really the path forward for the team and for the community.
Thank you. I mean, I find that disingenuous. I asked you directly, you're going to be capturing this as part of your legislation, yet you can't even commit to doing it yourself. And so I think that's something that the taxpayers must know of this state, but I divert my questions for the next round.
Woo! Okay, and I said Flores, and I'm so sorry. That is Fabian Donati, the junior senator there from Las Vegas, who's coming from a family of people who were in those unions, the Culinary Union and UFCW. So you'd think that maybe there'd be a little bit of extra grace or a lot of extra grace based on his background. But he asked some hard questions there to a guy who has never proven to be someone who can really answer the hard questions. And that's probably why you didn't see him the first time around. They were, I think, hoping that they weren't going to have to bring either John Fisher or, in this case, Dave Kaval, president of the A's, in front of this group of legislators who have a right to ask these questions. And if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. That's what they say. But man, those were hard pressing questions there. And I don't think anybody was impressed with the answers that were given. They're on a break right now, just so you know, in Carson City. So we'll take a break as well. When we come back, we'll either be rejoining them or we'll dive back into some of the highlights from earlier today. They've already been at it for quite a few hours as the legislators try to figure out whether or not they're going to build a stadium and then ultimately bring the Oakland A's to Las Vegas.
The Wayne Coy Show.
My name is Michael Stefanski, and I am the owner and founder of Sin City Custom Suits, custom clothing concierge. I help gentlemen get into clothes that fit them like they're supposed to, that they pick out themselves, and we craft together. 600 different suit fabrics to pick from, about 40 measurements to make sure the suit's going to fit you right. Then we decide, do you want 2 buttons on the front, 3 buttons on the front, how many on the sleeve? You want like a custom photo lining for the inside of your jacket, any number of different things that you can think of. This is all about what do you want. And when you ask guys, what do you want? They don't know because they've never been given the option before. Because I help men look as absolute best as they can. It's transforming people's lives. If you've never had a suit that fits you right, you have no idea how much confidence it gives you. That's the important part. 702-767-2478. Instagram at Custom Suit Guy, SinCityCustomSuits.com.
STN Sports is the only sports betting app you need this season. STN Sports has it all. In-play betting, mobile parlay cards, the Play Plus card to fund and withdraw from anywhere in Nevada, and the latest lines on every game. STN Sports even lets you earn rewards on every bet. Safe and easy betting from your phone or tablet. Go to StationCasinoSports.com or sign up at any Station Casino, Fiesta Wildfire, or the El Cortez. Details at the sportsbooks.
Do you love watching television? If you're on a fixed budget, you need to make this free call right now to Dish and find out how you can get a fixed monthly price to watch all the television you want for 3 full years. In addition to a 3-year price guarantee, you can also get free monthly movie rentals. They give you 1 free movie rental every month. That's a $165 value, yours free. Plus, get free in-home tech visits, no-cost equipment replacements, a free voice remote, and you can watch commercial-free TV. Even access all your favorite apps to stream like Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, and more. Now is the perfect time to call Dish. Take advantage of the 3-year price guarantee. Save yourself some money, and all your equipment is free. Call right now.
800-586-4206. 800-586-4206. 800-586-4206. That's 800-586-4206. Paid for by NBS.
Now back to the Wayne Coy Show.
A certificate.
So this is my last question. Reading from a letter that Representative Barbara Lee posted today, I write regarding the future of the Oakland Athletics Baseball Club in the East Bay. Many of my constituents in the East Bay and I are increasingly frustrated with the coming apparent failure of the team and Major League Baseball to deal in good faith. Let me jump down to the third paragraph because I think someone asked this. I believe strongly that our community also provides value to the A's. Oakland has been the site for this franchise for a great deal of time. And then she goes on to say about some things that they had already started doing in preparation, some things that the Oakland A's asked for, and they were in the process of doing that. But now the frustration is coming because they're seeking a new location. So that's part one. But the other one would be, we've heard from someone about the community benefit. But as I look at this, I think the players are very close to the bottom of the pay scale. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I looked at it wrong, but that would be it. And when we talked about, and I can't remember who it was, asked, what is the investment? And right now, if you're asking us to give this much money, there has to be some awareness on the part of the owner and any other interested financial partners who have that fiduciary responsibility. There has to be some awareness of what the commitment, the dollar amount commitment is. Because absent that, the only thing we continue to talk about are just hyperboles. And so, as my colleague to my right said, we hope not to go to another pandemic, but the what ifs. And if we can't, if those payments can't be met and they fall back on the county, if that happens, then we're left, with the shrugging of the shoulders. Well, I don't know what happened. And so my questions, and I believe that the questions of my colleagues are really designed to say, we have to do our due diligence because this is a lot of money, and the community benefits really don't make up for for the lack of money for youth mental health. Now, we passed a lottery that's going to come back again next year, but it's going to be like 6 years before that actually takes place. The here and the now. We don't have the money to increase access, not just access, affordable access, but quality access in our healthcare delivery system. We don't have the money right now to put towards eliminating or at least mitigating homelessness. I have a bill that was about women veterans being housed and women who are coming out of domestic violence situations, formerly incarcerated women, and women who are 50 plus, housing insecure. We don't have money for any of that. And we just closed out the session. So it's going to be another 18 months unless we get called back for a third session, special session. So it's going to be that long. And so my concern, and I will tell you with all honesty, my concern and my hesitation is based upon the lack of certainty. because those things that we could not do because we don't have the money, but we come 2 days after special session ends. I'm sorry, this session ends with a special session, but now we have the money, but we didn't have the money for mental health. We didn't have the money for hospitals. We didn't have the money for homeless to really address homelessness. And $5 million to me is a lot of money, but that's just because I've never had $5 million. But when in the grand scheme of things, and you look at how homelessness has become more and more pervasive, and part of that is because affordable housing does not exist. $5 million towards that problem, towards that challenge, is probably like saying, can you buy me a Coke? And so we would really have to look at it through the lens of how pervasive is the problem. And if we're going to be a good community partner, how do we come up from 5 million so that it really, really, really addresses the problem? Because if we don't do these tax credits, that means that there's going to be money that we can do some other things with. And as far as the transferable tax credits, that for me, if we give that to you, but then you can transfer, you can give it, you can sell it to someone else. Here we go again, because now you're talking about tax dollars that are here and now, but they're not going to be. And in the future sometime, maybe they will be again. Does that make sense to you? So I'm just trying to, these are questions from people who text me, but they're also questions that I've been trying to figure out in my head. And so I will tell you the transferable tax credits are a problem for me.
Senator Spearman, Steve Hill. Just to be clear, the process of redeeming those tax credits does not ever create any additional cost to state or local government. It's the original amount. That's all the costs that there will be, regardless of how they are then ultimately redeemed in the future. I will say there's certain, the uncertainty is real, but has also been taken into consideration in a number of ways. So as we look at the bonds, the 2 times coverage, as we look at the return on investment at 3 times what the entire amount, including what is just being lent and will be repaid, there's going to be a positive benefit here. The state and local governments and the A's interests are aligned. They want to be successful too. It is why they are looking to move. It is the situation in Oakland is also a part of the issue that has to be overcome. When they have been good very recently, and when they were good, attendance was not great. The experience that we will provide in Las Vegas, both at the ballpark and around the ballpark, will be a draw that will help the team have the opportunity to be more successful in the future.
All right, well, there's the answer you would pretty much expect from the guy who's leading the Las Vegas Convention Visitors and Authority. Yeah, that's Steve Hill, who's putting the gloss on if he can. And I will say, though, I'll take one exception, which would be that when the team was good, the Oakland A's did draw, some years even flirting with 3 million people coming to the ballpark. That's while the Giants are across town also drawing over 2 million. So you put a good product on the field, it's quite likely that you will see a difference at the turnstiles. Right now, the fans, and let's be honest, they've had their team basically taken away from them. They've been told, we don't care about the product that's on the field. We're going to put minor leaguers out there and veterans that are never going to do anything. They are on pace to maybe be the worst baseball team in modern history. Swallow that for a second. And then on top of that, you got ownership who's basically telling you, we're out of here. We're just looking for a big check. And as soon as we can get it, we're going to leave, whether it's Vegas or anywhere else. We don't care, because the commissioner of baseball's told us if we don't have this stadium thing worked out by January, we're not going to get our welfare check anymore. So we've got to hurry up and go. So Las Vegas, give us the money. Nevada, give us the money. Clark County, give us the money. That's been the attitude, and I think you're hearing from the other side, the legislators are pushing back. And can you blame them? Nothing wrong with Las Vegas having a major league team, but do you want one on those terms? I don't know. I do know this. They are back live again, the legislators are, and we're going to, again, take a quick pause, but when we come back, we'll keep the coverage going here. It's KSHP and the Wayne Coy Show. Hope you're enjoying all of the craziness that's happening in a special session.
Hey, this is Bobby De Niro. You talking to me because I'm talking to you. I hear there's a very funny, politically incorrect show called the Jew Man Group Show. It's a comedy about everybody and everything at the Tuscany Hotel Copa Showroom. It plays Wednesday through Saturday at 6 p.m. Get your tickets.
Hey, what are you saying? You saying it's funny? Funny how? Funny like it amuses you funny? Like it's your personal clown funny?
Are you stupid or what? Just go see it.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-557-8036. 800-557-8036. 800-557-8036. That's 800-557-8036.
The world famous radio shopping show weekdays on 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas and KSHP.com.
USA. And here's host Ron Buck. And good to have you with us.
Zinworld Premium CBD offers full and broad spectrum CBD oil, extracts, and capsules, which are designed to help you feel your best. Their products are sourced from the best organic hemp and natural ingredients on the market and are tested for quality, purity, and potency. They have a full range of items from health and wellness to beauty to pets. Call 725-205-9223. Visit online at zinworld.com or stop by their location at 9895 South Maryland Parkway and Silverado Range Parkway. Mention KSHP for 10% off in store or use code KSHP online for 15% off.
Is your dog suffering from a sensitive stomach? Hi, it's Kelly the Cookie Lady from Mooch's Munchies. Our dogs had super sensitive tummies, and I needed to find a low-fat treat that wouldn't give them gas or other issues. Most of the treats on the market were loaded with fillers, chemicals, and chicken fat. Many of them weren't even food. Well, I knew I could do better, so I developed Mooch's Munchies, and I'm happy to be able to share them with you. Stop by our store or our website, moochesmunchies.com, and find out why we say that Mooch's Munchies are totally pawsome.
Hungry for the best barbecue in Las Vegas? Come out to the infamous barbecue and meat market, John Mole's Meats and Roadkill Grill in Las Vegas. John Mole's was featured on the Food Network's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Now take home delicious meat selections for your grill, and while you're there, grab a bite of the best barbecue in Las Vegas. With 2 locations now at Tom and Gowan or on North Decatur, you're sure to find the perfect meats for your next barbecue or party. Find us online at johnmolemeats.com.
Welcome to Hash House A Go-Go, where we've been serving farm food and crafted cocktails for over 2 decades. Visit us for the full Hash House experience at any of our 5 Las Vegas locations. Hash House A Go-Go is where old school meets new and gets twisted. We bring people together over good food and fun. Come in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and come hungry because our portions are huge. Visit us online to see our entire menu at hashhouseagogo.com. Hash House A Go-Go. It's a Midwest thing, and there's nothing else like it.
Now back to the Wayne Coy Show.
First tier of the consolidated tax, so within or to each of the 17 counties, is per capita. So absent any additional tax that would be generated from that, each amount of that particular portion of the tax would reduce the consolidated tax distribution from the liquor tax to all 17 counties, and then it would flow through the second tier to the cities and towns and other special districts within that particular county. Thank you, Madam.
No, thank you. Senator Neal, did you have anything to follow up on that? I want to make sure that that question had been answered and that Mr. Nakamoto was able to provide some clarity there.
Ditto, Mr. Nakamoto.
Just want to make sure you didn't have any additional questions.
I do, but I don't know how far this rabbit hole I want to go. So, okay, I'll just ask my final question then. So you guys have also on the revenue, I theoretically, I think you guys have, you mentioned that Department of Taxation, you guys have had a conversation, I guess, discuss the mechanisms in order to move the taxes. And so the interesting thing is the one that's on page 19, which is 372B 140, which are the TNC, basically Uber and Lyft fares. And I guess I was wondering, like, mechanically, how will the TNC fares be pledged since it's being used from the point of origin or the destination in the sports entertainment district? So that means it could be derived from a ride that's happening or to the area. And so when it says TNC fares, I just want to get a true understanding about how an Uber fare would then be pledged within this context.
Senator Neal, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, preliminary conversations with the providers have indicated that you can geofence those specific locations. So if they're geofenced, we know who gets dropped off at the stadium and can direct those fares into the sports and entertainment improvement district.
Madam Chair, that's my last question.
Thank you. We will go to Senator Flores.
Thank you, Majority Leader, for recognizing me a second time. And thank you both for hanging out so late. I know it's late and it's hard to be on camera. Everybody's looking at you and you got to stay sharp. So I do appreciate that. I understand that's hard. I wanted to follow up and kind of continue the conversation where I left off my first line of questioning with the community benefits agreement. And one of the things that I've had an opportunity to hear now during the line of questioning multiple times is that, well, we have that section in there because that mimics what we did in 2016 during the special session. And I'm not suggesting that it's apples to apples or identical, but some of it has carried over. And that is just reflective of the fact that we've learned. I mean, we've done this once, we've done this dance. I think a lot of electeds here have learned a lot from that too. But if I can go back to that time and then maybe we can kind of walk through this together. I had previously mentioned that one of the things that occurred at that time is, I mean, there was ongoing conversations for about a year at that time. At also 2016, we're just coming out of a recession, particularly in my district. There was a lot of folk who in the construction industry who were not yet back at work, and they really wanted to get back to work. And then on top of that, when we talk about community benefits, if you look at Senate Bill 1 of the 2016 session, I think university is on that bill like 65 times or something like that, 50 times. And I say that because so much of that conversation had to do with investments in what we already have currently. There was a lot of extensive conversation about the Visitors Authority, the Convention Center. There was a lot of conversations about UNLV. And because something new was coming, but we were also equally investing in something that was already here. So part of that community benefits analysis and kind of what all of us who were thinking of supporting that idea, we were thinking we're also investing in something that's already here and kind of saw that partnership. And so I'm curious why that didn't carry over in the conversations. When we started talking about the A's are coming here, we're sitting down with the folk that really made this kind of deal work back in 2016. Why not at that moment say, let's simultaneously ensure that what we do in this Senate Bill 1 reflects something very similar to what we did the first time in 2016, which is immediately ensure that we're simultaneously investing something presently. And what that looks like, and maybe it doesn't add up, whether it's allowing UNLV to play baseball, have their games there, or CSN, or whatever that looks like. But I'm just trying to understand why we didn't necessarily add that component, or why that was left out, or did we try it? And obviously within the conversations you were having, it's just unfortunately, it just didn't pencil out the same way. I just wanted to get kind of into that discussion that none of us were a part of.
Senator Flores, Steve Hill. I'll give you a couple of different viewpoints on this. In 2015, during that session, those two major projects you discussed, the expansion of the convention center and the stadium, were leading down the path in parallel and causing difficulty during that session. And obviously Governor Sanders put together the Tourism Infrastructure Committee to try and figure out a solution, because that couldn't happen during the session. And also, obviously, you've done some great work during this session that wasn't required to be paired up with this project. Most of the time, these projects are probably best reviewed, analyzed as a single project. We think it's sense in this situation and allows the best view of the project. Separately, I will say, heard you through this hearing and are doing work to respond to some of the concerns of this committee. And we will be getting back with you shortly with responses to community benefit topics and concerns that you have.
Madam Majority Leader, may I follow? And thank you for that. And what I would add to that is, I think something very similar is happening now, in that when you talk about Allegiant, and you alluded to it in your response, there was conversations that were happening prior to the Allegiant conversation that were left unfinished, and we couldn't get them across the finish line. And it wasn't until we tied them into Allegiant that all of it collectively worked. I think that is also true presently. There's been a legislative session that just ended, and there's a lot of legislation there that also didn't make it all the way through that finish line. And attaching it to this conversation is very prudent, and I think can allow for this conversation to move further. I think we're in a very similar situation. But I also wanted to talk about the different, the kind of that deal and this deal. What did we do in that deal, and what did we put in the NRS then that we've learned from and have improved and is no longer here, and or we've improved in what is in front of us now?
Senator Flores, for the record, Jeremy Aguero. I think Senate Bill 1 has worked pretty darn well. In terms of constructing a development agreement and a lease agreement, I think the novel structure that was created, that was called the Stadium Authority Board, has done a pretty remarkable job in terms of ensuring that the deal that was structured was actually brought forward. I think oftentimes, when we look back at what happened before, we look at Senate Bill 1 and we look at the section that is where the community benefits plan, for example, is included, right? That's section 23.5. You'll notice that, I'm sure oftentimes you don't have a sort of half provision, right? A half major section of a bill. And that's because that section was added at the 11th hour as folks were sort of talking about things that we needed to do better relative to that bill to get it across the finish line. There was not a lot of conversation about a community benefits plan throughout that process. It sort of came up during the legislative session. To your point, we probably should have had some more time. We probably should have thought about it a little bit more. You mentioned the fact that the university, for example, is mentioned 50, 60 times in that bill. The reason for that is that the way Senate Bill 1 is structured, that in the event that the stadium wasn't constructed, that it would essentially pivot over and UNLV would receive the money, who was going to build a stadium for their football team anyway. And to the extent the NFL didn't approve the project, we would have had that. So I don't know that that's something that I would necessarily change or think differently about. In terms of the structure for the community benefits plan, I think you make an excellent point in terms of being a little bit more structured around it. Respecting the fact that that both the legislation that you're contemplating now and Senate Bill 1 from 2016 includes language that requires us to sort of think about what would happen. I can tell you, we pressed the Raiders pretty hard on that community benefits agreement. We went out and we looked at other community benefits agreements that had been around the country, and we asked them to put the highest thresholds of any one that we could find in terms of minority and women hiring for both the construction phase and the operations phase, and they've beat every estimate that we put in there. Are there things we could have done better? Are there things that you brought up here today that we could have done better? Yes, sir. There are absolutely things we could have done better relative to that. There are a couple of provisions that are in this legislation that were not in that last one. Things like making sure that the public remains a third party beneficiary of any agreement that exists. That sort of came up from time to time. I think that there are provisions relative to how agreements are renewed and things like that that are better. But Senator Flores, I'll be honest with you. I think Senate Bill 1 from 2016 is a real example. That's why the folks that are in Buffalo utilized the structure that we created to do that, including some elements of of community benefits and how it was structured into the agreement. The folks in Nashville utilized a lot of our documents and reached out to ask how we did things that were there. If you're asking the thing that I think is probably most important, it is within the document that you have today. The bonds cannot be issued until a community benefits agreement is in place. That did not exist in Senate Bill 1. All they had to do was create it, and then it had to exist in order for things to move forward. That is not how this legislation works. And I know we use words like accountability and we use words like enforcement, and we want it to be some of those things. I think those provisions will, perhaps not with the level of specificity that's being requested here, but will get you a lot further than maybe we were able to get with the language that was originally created.
And Madam Majority Leader, if I get to my final point, thank you. And I appreciate you referencing UNLV as a plan B in case it didn't work, because I remember we spoke about that extensively. And I also appreciate you mentioning that we think we did a really good job on the first bite. Not perfect, but it was good. To the first point, the plan B is I guess a different form of that. I think would make people feel a little bit more comfortable, but it's not here in who's gonna fill the stadium if the A's don't come, because the A's will come if this deal goes through, right? That it's a different scenario, but there is this notion that links both of those comments that you made, that we did do very well and we did exceed projections, and the stadium is outperforming what we even suggested it would. But if we're so confident that that is true today, then I think there's an opportunity for us to consider having some clawbacks here in saying, we feel so confidently that we're going to exceed the expectations that we can push in the other direction and say, if we don't meet the expectations we're talking about, that there's some clawbacks where the team will have some responsibility there of what we are asking you to kind of hold the bill on. And it's not something that you have to answer the question now. This is a conversation you have to think about, and I'm not going to put you on the spot in that way. That's not my intent. But I just think these are the type of things that allow for folk to have a little bit more comfort, because it's demonstrating that we've seen this in the past. We've done this plan. We think we're going to do what we've done before, which is beat what everybody thinks we can actually do, because Nevada can deliver. And we're so confident that there's language in there, and we're not calling it a plan B. We're calling it here an assurance of our confidence that we're going to create all these jobs, that we're going to have all these benefits to everybody, that we're willing to put some clawbacks in there. Then if we don't meet those expectations, the A's will fall. And then that's just for you to think about. I'm not trying to put you on the spot and force you to answer that question. But I just wanted to throw that out there. And thank you again.
Okay, we'll go to Senator Giorniati.
Thank you so much, Chair, just for giving me one more line of questioning. I feel like my remarks from the live entertainment tax were not completely there, so I want to try again. I don't know if Mr. Caval is here to answer questions, or if I can direct them to you all. Is he still here? Or I'll direct them to you all. Okay, so and you'll understand what my final conclusion point is. So by no means did I mean my line of questioning as a sign of disrespect or trying to downplay the presentation that you have today. I believe that many of the residents perhaps would welcome the Oakland A's to Las Vegas if the circumstances were right, including myself. The question that, of course, comes into play is using tax dollars and the ramifications that exist with such particular outcome. And as my colleague mentioned just shortly, the potential clawbacks if we fail to meet the requests of, say, projected jobs, projected revenue. Should we hit a downturn? What are the ramifications or the steps in place to provide such a proposal? And so, just simple question. If I purchased food and merchandise on this site, would I have to pay sales taxes?
Yeah, Steve Hill, yes.
Okay. That's what I figured the answer was. And so if you have to pay sales taxes for food and merchandise, I don't know why we would ignore paying either a sales tax or a live entertainment tax for the ticket sale to get into the facility. I would request that either one or two things. One, that we specifically add or remove the exemption for athletic events, specifically for baseball games, from the live entertainment tax and add it into this bill proposal. And if that's not accepted, then I would request that we remove it from the tax revenue sources, because it's not fair that you're taking advantage of it, but you're not also paying it. I think it's unfortunate that's not, in terms of capturing something that is not equitable to the other businesses that do pay into it. And I think that's something that you should consider. And so I appreciate your time today.
Senator Nguyen.
Thank you, Chair. This is kind of following up from some of the earlier comments from my colleague from Senate District 4 about how kind of the funding model and some of the provisions around the money kind of differ from the Raiders Stadium. But specifically, if we can talk about Section 30, that's the credit enhancement section. So I have some concerns, because in there we are taking 20, in addition to the tax credits and the $35 million a year, we are starting that fund off with $25 million in general funds that, it's my understanding, is proposed to be put into that infrastructure bank. And am I correct in understanding that the intent is to allow Clark County to get better terms on bonding?
When for the record, Jeremy Aguero, yes.
And then just to follow up on that, I haven't really seen that anywhere, and I'm just trying to, can we explain why that section is there and why that $25 million is needed in that project? Like, can Clark County not seek this bonding without having that backstop in the infrastructure bank and that $25 million in general fund dollars in that infrastructure bank?
Senator, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, the answer to your question is that Clark County would like to have 2 times coverage on the bonds. For every $1 that's available for principal and interest, another $1 that's available to make sure that if revenues come in short, that there's a backstop. If we had 2 times coverage only on the revenues that were there, it wouldn't be enough to generate the revenue. It would be too little. And so by creating a line of credit from the state, it allows us to take the bonding amount from $95 million roughly to about $120 million overall. By having those dollars sit in that account in the event that they are needed, it creates an additional level of security referenced in the bill as a credit enhancement, that instead of the county needing cash coverage of 2 times, we get cash coverage of 0.5 and then a credit line of 0.5, and it gets us to the same place.
But they're able to seek these bonds without having these allocated funds. The terms just are not as, I guess, favorable for them, and they don't have the security of knowing that we're backing them up.
Senator Wynn, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, I think the answer to your question is that's exactly right. To the extent that there's no line of credit, we wouldn't be able to yield as much from the bonds because you're right, the structure wouldn't be as favorable.
And that $25 million, it would never revert back to the state. It would just stay in that infrastructure bank indefinitely under the terms as written out here.
Senator, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, yes, that is the case. At the end of this process, assuming they were never used, I would hope that the legislature would find a good use for them.
And then, Madam Chair, if I could just ask one other question, I'm kind of going to switch off to another topic in Section 20, subsection 3. And this is kind of the section where Clark County has been tasked in statute in essentially moving people experiencing homelessness off the strip. And so while I understand why it might be necessary or why we want to move people out of this tourism corridor, if you could kind of explain better what your vision is for this. I'm just concerned I've heard from some of our city jurisdictions, like the city of Henderson or the city of Las Vegas, in particular, the city of Las Vegas, that currently many of our services for those that are unhoused are located in downtown Las Vegas or in the city of Las Vegas city limits. So I just have some concerns and would like to know if you could clarify what your intent was and those statutory directives on the county to, I'm worried that we're just moving people that are unhoused into the city, and if there's any communication on a plan to coordinate with that.
Senator Wynn, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, the answer to your question is there's no broad-based plan there. That was just to capture some of the money if the project beat expectations to help what is an identified problem. This legislature passed AB 528, which deals with identifying and thinking about a more comprehensive solution to homelessness. There have been other legislation that this body has undertaken. Local governments are spending upward of $100 million plus on this problem in Southern Nevada alone. This doesn't even attempt to solve that. It just said, if there's some extra money, we've got a problem that we could use some additional resources for. And if the project overperforms, we should be dedicating them to that. I don't think there was a whole lot more in terms of what was included there. Relative to AB 528, there's a requirement that to participate in that project, each local government have a navigation center that's there, much like what exists in the courtyard around the Corridor of Hope for the city of Las Vegas. Obviously, that's critically important. No one has ever brought up or suggested to me for a moment that what we want to do is, round up homeless folks and essentially take them to the city of Las Vegas. Number one, I don't think there would be sufficient funds to do that given the magnitude of the problem. But even as a matter of policy, no one suggested that.
And I hopefully you didn't, I didn't want to suggest that that was it. I just knew that there were some statutory provisions talking about moving unhoused people outside of that strip corridor. And I just had some concerns that the natural movement would be into these other jurisdictions where there are services. But I appreciate your answer and thank you.
Senator Lang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to just change and talk a little bit about the naming rights of the stadium. Do you know the anticipated revenue that the A's would get from the renaming of the stadium?
Senator Lang, for the record, Jeremy Aguero. Look, we can look at what other stadiums have done. Some of those data are public, Senator. Some of those are not. But no, we don't have with the level of specificity what the naming rights would be 3 years from now.
Do you know when that would happen in the process?
Senator Lang, for the record, Jeremy Aguero. Likely it would be during the construction process by the time it gets opened. We think about that in terms of contractually obligated revenue, right? As the stadium comes up, they're going to have all kinds of things that they're trying to sell, naming rights to, pouring and food and beverage and catering rights and some of those type of things that exist. Normally that will happen during the development period. So when the stadium opens, that contractually obligated revenue comes through. There are some examples where those things happen a little earlier than later, but generally speaking, it's after the physical asset is in place.
And so I think you just kind of said, but I just want to make sure I heard it correctly. So would the money from the naming of the stadium come in one lump sum, or does it usually come in over time?
Senator Lang, Jeremy Aguero, generally speaking, it's oftentimes talked about this big number, but it's usually spread over a 10 to 20 year period that there's a contractually obligated amount of revenue that inures to the benefit of the project.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, ma'am.
Senator Harris.
Thank you, Chair, for the second bite at the apple. Mr. Aguero, I'm hoping you can kind of level with us a little bit. And I know your job is to pitch this, but I want to pick your brain as an economist for a second. So it's my opinion that what we have before us might be what are kind of maybe the rosiest projections of how this might work out. What is the worst case scenario?
Senator Harris, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, the worst case scenario is that we begin to build something and it doesn't get completed. We run into a pandemic like we saw before, and it has a compounding effect associated with our community, and it shuts the strip down like what we saw before. To be honest with you, in my career, I suppose we dealt with the events of September 11th and what that ultimately meant. And I'll be honest with you, I thought, well, that's probably as bad as it gets. And yet we rebounded from that. And then we had a great recession, right? And it was pretty bad for our state. A lot of foreclosures, a lot of things. I thought that was pretty bad. And then we had a once in 100-year pandemic. I don't know what this world is going to throw at us next, but something that would essentially interrupt the ability for us to attract visitors to our community, for people to go to work, for people to be in areas that they can be together would be devastating, not only for this project, but for our state as a whole.
So in my question, I'm assuming that there is no large intervening force majeure, right? I'm talking, let's say we set up this deal and things just don't work out. What is the worst case scenario? Because the A's can't produce, or, we don't attract because there isn't any investment in the team, or because visitors don't come in the way that you suggest that they're going to come, right? So, I mean, I assume that when you modeled, you had a high, middle, low, right? What would that low be, right? Not assuming a recession, or let's keep an even keel, but I mean, $27,000 or 27,000 people on average is probably like things are going really well. What is the worst case scenario if things don't go well? How much is the state, the county going to be on the hook for?
Yeah, Senator Harris, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, I think you and I are just going to have to disagree on this a little bit. I don't believe that the project achieving 50%, the 50th percentile, is somehow setting the world on fire relative to attendance. I don't believe that 8 events happening at the facility in any way suggest maximizing the utility of the asset. I just disagree with that. But to your point, are there scenarios in which the project could generate less revenue? Sure, there are. Right? The stress tests that were done by the PFM report looked at, minus 10%, minus 20%. Still, in which case there was sufficient revenue to essentially secure the bonds as they were issued. Do I believe that those scenarios could exist? Of course they can, and I acknowledge your question. It is a good one. I have no doubt that there are scenarios that we can imagine. This project is not without risk. It is not without risk for the A's. It's not without risk for the state of Nevada. If those things happen that you just laid out, right, the A's will have invested over $1.1 billion, right? They're going to have a massive financial problem, right? And the reality is that, they could have financial issues that would lead to some kind of turnover there. Again, I feel like the scenario that's been painted is not here to try and suggest to you that, the best case scenario is what is possible. I did not produce those numbers. The folks from CSL produced those numbers. They're very good at what they do. And I will tell you that the A's actually carved back the projections that CSL had estimated because they wanted to be a little bit more conservative. If we had come here and suggested to this body that what was going to be built was a 40,000 seat stadium and they were going to put 27,000 people in it and it was going to be 60% occupied, my guess is people would say, wow, that doesn't seem inherently unreasonable. But because it's being sized at roughly the size of demand for Major League Baseball today, when it's constructed, it will be the smallest venue in Major League Baseball. I would suggest to you that it is not a scenario in which there's this sort of aggressive nature in terms of the demand that's going to be created. We look at what folks said before the Golden Knights came, right? That no one was going to go to hockey in the desert, and yet they're selling out every night. Now, granted, they're performing incredibly well, which I think you and I talked about a little bit, right? But I do believe in our community. I do believe in what we can do. I think there's a huge benefit in having 40 million visitors and the ability to attract them to an asset like this. I do believe the ballpark will be iconic and the ability to draw folks that will gravitate to that.
And I don't, in this particular line of questioning anyway, I'm not trying to necessarily disagree with that, but I think that we should have all of the information before us as to what the level of risk is and what we're putting on the line, right? How it could work out if things went well, but we should also know what would it look like if things didn't, right? Has anyone calculated the opportunity cost and offset that with the investment? So we know if we take the money, what we might generate, but what's the opportunity cost for this? If we took the money and spent it on, I don't know, something like education or infrastructure, which generally economists tend to prefer because it increases productivity, right? Has the opportunity cost of this been calculated and considered?
Senator Harris, Jeremy Aguero. Opportunity cost is obviously a complicated sort of concept, right? Because what is the opportunity you're giving up, right? I mean, we all value education, and you're right. Infrastructure builds capacity that generates it. The reverse is essentially what's been done here, right? If we take all of the cash flows, the state of Nevada is $366 million to the good, right? So the opportunity cost is that the state of Nevada will have $366 million less in a net present value by not constructing the project. So if that opportunity cost, you're going to use that $366 million for education or infrastructure or the countless other needs of the state of Nevada, I believe that the state of Nevada is in a better place than it would be if the project was never constructed. The opportunity cost of not building the project is you get nothing.
Except we get whatever we would benefit from spending those dollars on something else.
Certainly, but you're going to have 366 million fewer dollars to spend.
So it's my understanding that, I don't know, approximately 86% of economists agree that government should eliminate subsidies. Are you generally on the side of 14% of people in your profession, or is this just a one-time 86% of economists are probably wrong thing?
Senator Harris, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, obviously subsidies take any number of different forms, right? We subsidize everything in this state, right? It's what governments do. They provide services by collecting revenue and providing services to offset costs for things that wouldn't otherwise be provided, right? There are very different types of subsidies, right? If we're talking about a subsidy that essentially generates greater revenue than it offsets, that's not a subsidy, that's an investment.
But I don't think most of the people in your profession agree with the statement that you just made, that it in fact does create more revenue for local governments than it would otherwise, right? I think in this instance, you're probably in the minority here of people in your profession.
Senator Harris, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, look, I've read all the articles that have come out recently about stadiums and subsidies and all those type of things. I am not in the minority of my profession as much as we are in the minority relative to the structure of our economy and our revenue system. There is nowhere else in the United States that has the level of visitor contributions that we have here. It is what sets us apart from everywhere else. Those economists that are talking about the fact that the subsidies that are provided to public assets like stadiums and arenas, I want to be clear about this. They are 100% correct. If you go and you build a stadium in Des Moines or, Tallahassee or other places that don't have the level of visitation, where you are building it only for the residents that are there, you are building a community asset. I get that. It has a net negative economic benefit. If you build it in Southern Nevada, Allegiant Stadium, I would even use T-Mobile, respecting the fact that it did not get any public money. The fact that you are putting all of those visitors in, and every one of those visitors stay in our hotel rooms, eat in our restaurants, generate all of that revenue, you can put me in whatever minority of people in my profession that you'd like to, and I will stand there happily. The difference is not that I am different. The difference is that we are different as an economy, which sets us apart.
You're a smart guy and you do your homework, so I'm assuming that you've, seen pitches for these public stadiums in other cities. How often is the sell that city is different?
Senator Harris, I appreciate the compliment. I've seen some of the analyses that have been done. I don't know that I've seen ones that would suggest sort of the level of visitor volume is going to be the offsetting factor. I have had some of those conversations most recently with folks in Nashville around what they thought was actually going to generate in terms of, they have a pretty robust and growing visitor-based economy. So I've had some of those conversations, but I'm not an authority in terms of what other arguments have been made. And I can tell you, I have never made such an argument in another jurisdiction.
Chair, just one more quick thing, and then I will wrap it up. I promise. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that I've got this understood on the record. Your testimony is that a public stadium is a bad idea everywhere else except for Las Vegas.
Senator Harris, for the record, Jeremy Aguero, that is not my testimony.
Okay, I thought that's what I heard, but I'm out of time to clarify. So
I'm not intending to be clever or argumentative. I have not analyzed everywhere else around the United States. My point is, when we do the analysis here in the state of Nevada, in Southern Nevada, and we look at the three components, construction, operations, and visitors, what I'm suggesting is that the fact that our visitor economy is more robust than almost anywhere else in the United States allows us to do things and benefit from things differently than other areas. I cannot opine to everywhere else.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the second bite at the apple. And I know that it's late. We've already asked a lot of questions, but there is one thing that I think that we have not discussed thoroughly enough, which is what we've kind of been euphemizing as infrastructure, but the traffic flow and the parking situation there. I'm assuming that an urban planner or a traffic specialist has been consulted. And what's the plan?
Senator Steve Hill. Yes, the A's have engaged Kimley Horn, which is a firm that is a traffic specialist. They report, and the county will weigh in on that if this moves forward. Their public works department is also an expert in this. They work with Kimley Horn. Kimley Horn is the traffic engineering firm in Las Vegas. There are a number of different thoughts in that plan. The restructuring of Reno Road that is behind the Tropicana is an important part of that traffic mitigation plan. The work that is already going on at the intersection of I-15 and Tropicana, which will expand that intersection for future growth, is a big part of that. There is also a major planned project just east of this site there at Paradise and Thomas and Mack and the entrance into the airport that will also add capacity at that intersection. As I said before, a lot of people are going to walk to the events at this stadium. And there is the Boring Company loop system, the underground transportation system, has land use approval at that site, and down Tropicana, south on Las Vegas Boulevard, will ultimately be able to connect the parking garage at Mandalay Bay, for example, to this stadium. Parking garage. There are 20,000 or so parking spots in structured parking on the four properties on that corner now. So those will all be available to use, and being able to disperse that traffic so it's not actually centered all at the stadium sites, an important part of reducing congestion. And in addition to that, that site, once the Tropicana is demolished and the stadium is built, but before anything else is developed on that site, that other 26 acres will be available as well.
Senator Orenshaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I am piggybacking on a question my colleague from Senate District 11 had asked earlier regarding the contribution of the developer partner into the infrastructure. And I'm looking at section 22, subsection 2, subparagraph H on page 9. It says that the developer partner must provide for an adequate contribution by the developer partner for the construction or improvement of any infrastructure off the side of the project that it is determined to be necessary for the project by the Department of Transportation, the county, or any municipality. And I like that it provides for the contribution, but I'm just a little worried that adequate contribution seems kind of fuzzy. And I'm wondering what's an adequate contribution? Who determines whether the contribution is adequate enough? Is it 5%, 10% of the project, 50%? Is there any history with the Allegiant Stadium as to what an adequate contribution is? Or wonder if will it be the Stadium Authority Board who decides what's an adequate contribution if this bill passes? Wonder if you could speak to that section, subparagraph H of subsection 2 of 22.
Senator Orenshaw, Steve Hill. The definition of adequate contribution will be made in large part because of the location by Clark County through that high impact project process. NDOT will also be part of that conversation and will have that authority as well.
Thank you. Just brief follow-up. So it'll be the Clark County Board of Commissioners or Clark County staff that'll determine what is an adequate contribution for this infrastructure?
Senator Steve Hill, yes, the Public Works Department will work with the developer partners to determine what needs to be constructed. And generally, the A's will pay for all of that, less the $25 million that Clark County has offered as a discount in that development agreement as a part of this.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Severs Ganser.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Since we were talking about Las Vegas and its ability to bring in visitors and the success, I'm looking at a Billboard article that talks about the top grossing stadiums. Allegiant Stadium ranked as the top grossing in the world. The numbers were between November 1st of 2021 to October 31st of 2022, $182,503,000 with over 1 million attendees. Then you go SoFi, then you go Foro Sol in Mexico City, then MetLife in East Rutherford. Further, in the Billboard list of top arenas that can hold 15,001 people or more, T-Mobile Arena on the Strip comes in at number 4 with 124,684,713. I think Las Vegas drives shows. And, just in this discussion, it's unique. Las Vegas is so unique. It's one of the places, these numbers prove it. This is a recent article. It's from last year, again, November 1 of 2021 to October 31st of 2022. And so I think to the point of whether Las Vegas is uniquely situated, I think the answer is yes. And I also think when you look at the deal, I think there were some discussions about the attendance was 180% of what the expectations were. So it ended up being the model when those folks who passed that bill, it was conservative. 180% of what the model was. And I think it was three, I can't remember if that was 3-1 ROI or if that's what you expect for this one. But I think there's been great success in Las Vegas. And so I think we need to keep that in mind, that the evidence is here. It's in writing. Billboard. If you just Google it, you'll find it. Thank you.
Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, for the second bite at the apple here. I do have one last clarifying question. In section 29, subsection 4, it says that state and local governments who collect the pledge taxes are required to determine commercially reasonable procedures to separate the pledged revenues from other collections. So what happens if there's no commercially reasonable procedure that the Department of Taxation, for example, can isolate those insurance premium taxes? Like, I'm starting to think about like the bigger picture, like how is this all gonna work if we make it work?
Senator Dondero Loop, for the record, Jeremy Aguero. If there's no commercially reasonable way to do it, they will not inure to the benefit of the district.
Okay, that was pretty succinct. I expected a bigger answer than that. I guess I was overthinking it. All right, so with that, I want to thank you for being here today and answering the questions. I'm assuming that we'll have some amendments to Senate Bill 1 that we are looking at now. We've heard this procedure now twice. We've had 2 hearings. We heard Senate Bill 509 in Finance and Ways and Means, and now we've heard it tonight as a committee of the whole. So I'm assuming that there will be some amendments that we will see coming forth. And so thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing those amendments. And with that, Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I too just want to thank you for being here and presenting. I know it is late. Thanks everyone for staying with us. But I think it's important for us to be able to ask questions. And I think that you've obviously heard that there are some concerns and some things that I think we can have some further discussion about. And so like my colleague, just looking forward to seeing some amendments and working through some of the pieces of this. With that, everyone, we are going to move to testimony on the bill. So we'll thank you for being here. We are going to start here in Carson City. We will go with support first. We will then go down to Las Vegas. If you are down in Las Vegas, and I think there are some people still hanging out in the room with us, so if you are here to testify in support, you're welcome to take those first 3 chairs there at the table. We'll kind of go back and forth between here and Carson City and Las Vegas, and then finish up on the phone lines. I would remind everyone that we will be taking 2 minutes per person. If you have additional comments, we would be happy to receive those. Please submit those in writing to our Senate staff. You can find the information on how to do that online on Nellis. And we will move on from support to opposition. And I think there were some folks looking to testify in support who are making their way down here in Carson City to the floor of the Senate. And whoever would like to go first can come up to the podium. Mr. Saavedra, it is good to see you. I will be letting you know once you get close to that 2-minute mark. We're going to take support testimony for a bit. We will then move to opposition after that, and then neutral finally. But we will start here in Carson City with you, Mr. Saavedra.
Oh boy. So the over under on that is what, 1:30 in the morning? I mean, it's going to go for a while now. This is the opportunity for those who have been waiting to speak up to do just that. I mean, somebody other than the same 2 guys have been talking all day. All right, you have a good night. We will get back at you again tomorrow, and who knows, maybe we'll have an update on this whole thing after this fascinating stuff.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening to The Wayne Coy Show.
In time of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do